Hi guys. So a friend and I were just having I don't know, not really a debate, but a discussion about some complex stuff. And I hadn't been here in a while, so I figured maybe I'd post it here and see if you guys had thoughts or whatever. Oh, first, real quick, look, I'm wearing my maybe backwards to you guys, my I Am shirt to support Jason Christopher. If you haven't checked out his channel, it's, I mean, it appears as though it's about like the Mandela effect and stuff, but he's pretty hilarious. So, and it's about like consciousness. So he has cool garb. So I'm addicted to buying these clothes, and this t-shirt is super comfortable. It's like one of my favorite things ever. Anyway, so I'm reading this book that she had recommended I read, by Todd Duality, I believe is how you say his name. And he's basically channeling information throughout the book. He has a YouTube channel as well that you can look for, Todd. I don't know. I know that's not what the channel's called, but I feel like if you search Todd, and any spiritual words, you'll probably find him. So I'm reading this book at her suggestion, and there's lots of familiar stuff. There's lots of stuff that's interpreted in a different way. So like I was bouncing some thoughts off of her because they were new ideas to me, so to speak. Where that came from. And I guess here's kind of, this might be a long video, and I apologize if you stick with me, great. If not, I'm sorry. So here's the train of thought, okay? Now, I know myself to be a twin flame. I don't know how you guys all feel. I know it's like popular to be a twin flame. I wish I wasn't. So I don't know why it's so popular to be a twin flame, but I went through a period of maybe 6 or 7 months where I felt like because certain people didn't resonate or seem to understand twin flame, and the amount of work and pain involved in being a twin flame, they didn't resonate and they weren't a twin flame. And I guess maybe that's still true, but I don't resonate with that anymore, I guess. I think maybe they just haven't reached a point in their awakening. Like, I don't think it comes at a certain point in everyone's awakening where you realize you are a twin flame. I think people encounter different ideas and whatever in their own awakening at different times for different reasons. So I think there are a shitload of us that identify with being a twin flame, and for a lot of us, that was, for a bunch of people, that was the beginning of their ascension, or awakening, I should say. I can't say that was it for me. Other acts kind of, other events in my life kind of threw me into an awakening, and then the twin flame thing really just fucked me up. But it really made me go really deep into my healing. But I think other people may have other events that have happened to them where they've gone through the awakening and they may be more awakened or less. I don't really know if you can judge on a scale like that, but they may have been on the path for longer than me, or just to use me as a frame of reference. And maybe they aren't familiar or don't resonate with being a twin flame, but maybe it's just because they haven't that hasn't been relevant for them yet, and once it is, it will resonate. Just like for me, I'm sure there are pieces of this whole thing that, to other people seem really important, and to me, I'm just like, I don't get it. Like, either I don't get it, or it just doesn't really matter to me, or it doesn't, like, resonate as something that's true to me. I don't know. But, like, for a while, people are talking about being from Sirius, or the Pleiades, or Arcturus, and different star systems. And I was like, what the hell? Like, it didn't, like, none of that made any sense to me. And then I had a QHHT session done, and all of a sudden, that was part of me. Now I feel like I resonate with certain, a certain star system more. Don't ask me why. So I feel like maybe it's the same for this whole twin flame thing. Anyway, so what I really feel is that it only makes sense to me, like, and this kind of leads into a further topic of density versus dimension. I'm going to use the word density right now because that's what I'm referring to. So density is, like, right now we are in the third density, and as you awaken and ascend, you start to acquire, I don't know of a better word to say, acquire, like, more pieces of your higher self, which raises your density eventually to the fourth density. And then in the fifth density, you don't have a physical body. So, reverting back to twin flames, in the fifth density, you're a soul without a body. So, every soul chose. When we decided to come to Earth, like, this is the planet or a density of duality. So, and our soul wanted to experience that. So, up in the fifth dimension, we're like, okay, let's go experience duality. So, down we came into the third density where we were split into two. And this is not like what gender it has to be, but there is one half that embodies the masculine and one embodies the feminine. And I believe that to be true for everybody here, except for the non-player characters. I don't know. But every, like, true soul that's here, that came from, God's source, I think is a twin flame. I think you embody one half of your soul. And we are ascending to a point where, sorry, my back is hurting. We are going to the fourth density, and in the fourth density is where you merge in a physical reality. Even though you're still in a separate body, you merge in a physical reality in a relationship with your twin flame. You become one. You're perfectly balanced within yourself, and that within reflects without. So it attracts your other half back to you, so the two of you are merged, even though you're still in separate bodies. And then from there, you go back up to the fifth density at some point where you don't have separate bodies, you're just the one soul. And then the higher you go, the bigger the collective, to my understanding. Or that's what resonates to me. So we got in this topic of the event and, like, negative polarity, because this guy Todd channeled that basically at some point in the not too distant future, all negative polarity will be completely wiped out. And this is a separate thing from what he calls, it's not the division, divergence, that's the word. where he says that those that are ready will basically create a new timeline to the fourth density, and those that aren't will just stay on this timeline. And I resonate with that. I don't think everyone's going to be ready at the same exact time. I think it's important that we are trying to get as many people ready as possible. But not everyone will be. It's free will. As bullshit as I think that really is. There's still free will. I think eventually everyone's going to have to, your soul, just a sentence, whatever. But, so I was kind of asking her, I said, I'm confused about, like, how, if there's some sort of thing that comes in and, like, wipes away all negative polarity, how would everyone not basically go to the fourth density? Like, I can't even imagine, if the third density basically is kind of the embodiment of duality, good versus evil. I mean, you can come up with, all of these different examples of duality. Not all are, like, positive, negative, but, like, one that came up for her and I was service to self and service to others. And there's, like, all this stuff about that lately. And, then she kind of, and so, yeah, we couldn't really, like, can't think of the right word. We couldn't really grasp, like, if polarity is wiped out, how do the people that don't move to the fourth density keep ascending? Because it's almost like the polarity gives you motivation almost, or like inspiration, whatever, to do the work, because you don't want your life to be shit anymore, or you don't want to keep experiencing these things, or you don't want to see these things happening in the world, so you, like, try to figure out what's going on. So if that's gone, how did the people in the third density ever get out of it, or why would they ever want to? Like, what's the benefit? So I guess I can agree that maybe I don't fully resonate with that idea. I do resonate with, once we go to the fourth density, that there's no duality. And like she was saying, maybe it's less, like in third density, maybe it's less that, maybe it's not that there's no duality, but that basically we've awakened or ascended enough to see beyond the duality. So this whole idea of, like, we are all really just one. And I guess I've never understood that as well as I have, like, recently, and specifically tonight, like, having this conversation with her. Because, I'm reading this book, and it's like, the more you ascend, the higher your density, even if you're still in a third density, like, you're increasing in density, and the more you increase in density, the more you're drawing in consciousness, so other people, experiences that are similar in density, and you unify. Even though you're in separate bodies, your consciousness is now merging. It's just the way it is. Sorry, that sounded really pretentious, but that's the way I believe it is. We are all one. I mean, that's, we all come from the same source. We have traveled down through the densities, or whatever the case may be, whether we come from, a really high density and just, like, boop, pop down into third, or if we have to, like, descend. I mean, like I said, fifth is the last place. We're one soul before we split into, masculine, feminine. I believe that, but anyway, we're all one, right? And that's the truth of the matter, and that's what we're getting back to, that, you're gonna look at people on the street and you love them as if they are yourself, because they are. There is no separation. We are all one. The plants, the animals, the people, it's all one. So then we started talking about this event, And she's like, you know, people are just waiting for this like wave or this like event to come from some sort of outside source and like save them. And I mean, my take on that is that basically, like, the higher we rise in vibration, density, whatever, the more we unify with others in the same density, the more we can manifest. So I guess, like, I've always kind of, sounds terrible, but I've always kind of thought of it as, like, no, propaganda is definitely not the right word, but, like, in I don't know where all of this started, like, you know, beginning of the year, you started hearing people, like, talk about an event, and I know, like, people were saying this before, but I wasn't really up on the whole YouTube, like, obsessing over videos thing before this, but, you know, people are talking about this, like, wave, and I don't know if it was, like, Allison Coe with her QHHT sessions, or what, but it's just, like, it's ramping up, you know, and people are waiting for this, like, massive thing to come and, like, change us, and I really feel like the information came from somewhere. Our higher self, like, way up, and was disseminated to all of us so that basically, I mean, I don't look at it as if something is coming to save me. I don't feel like I need saving at this point. I guess maybe at one point I did, because I felt really helpless, but I think a lot of us in the community have done so much work on ourselves and worked so hard on loving and accepting ourselves, and that has raised our vibration, our density, to the point where now we can manifest things so much easier because our consciousness is so much more unified and bigger. And I think we were given this idea of an event or a wave or whatever, and now we're just manifesting it because we think that something is coming, and we think that it would really help the collective if something came. So by us basically doing the inner work, it's reflecting outward. Like, we are attracting the wave by doing the inner work and creating it. So that's my school of thought on that. Now, I don't really feel like the wave is going to save things. I don't think it's going to be an overnight fix. I don't, but it could, and that would be awesome. I think it will be a little boost to help some of the collective who's really stuck kind of get out of that rut, and that would be cool. And then she says, you know, her response was, well, you know, if we're doing all this clearing and, like, this, things are supposed to be getting better, like, I'm on these Facebook groups and everyone seems to be, like, struggling so much. Everyone's having such a hard time. And then my rebuttal was, well, a lot of people are clearing for the collective because you still have all of these people in the collective that aren't awakened enough to even know. They couldn't even watch this video and know half of the words that I'm saying. Do you know what I mean? Not to sound like I'm better than anybody, but it just would be like a foreign language. And someone's got to help them. Someone has to help. So, and then she says, well, don't you think at the end of the day, like, it's really like we're becoming like martyrs in like the late worker community. Like, we take on everybody else's problems as if they're our own and all this stuff. And while I agree with that, it brings me back to the idea of, but we're all one. Like, someone else's trauma is mine. We are one. So, I mean, I personally can say that, like, all of the things that come up that I know need to be healed and cleared and whatever, like, those aren't things that aren't personal to me. Those are very real things happening in my life. I mean, sure, I have days where I'm, like, down and whatever, and I just try to just sleep it off, or, you know, whatever, like if I can't figure out what the specific thing is that's causing it, I get through it, you know? But if there's like something specific triggering me in my life, I know for sure like it needs to go. It needs to be healed. It needs to be cleared in order to like raise my vibration, to raise my density. And if I'm clearing that for me, there's got to be millions of other people that are going through either the exact same thing or have gone through the exact same thing and never healed it, or going through something so similar that the pain is pretty much the same. So I don't feel like the work that I'm doing on myself is in vain. Like, I think it is helping other people. And she's like, well, you know, then how did they ever ascend? Like, how did they awaken if they never learn how to heal themselves? And like, I guess my response is twofold. Like, first of all, I don't think that because I'm clearing a wound that I have and it may be helping the collective, that all of a sudden it's cleared for them. I think it just maybe gives them a little bit less of a burden, so they have the courage to look at it and heal it. But also, I don't know, if you go back to this whole service to self and service to others, where's the separation? Why is there separation? There is no more duality in that. You know, I can look at it as service to others. Like, there's no greater thing I can do to help others than to take the things that are happening in my own life and clear them for me, but also know that I'm helping others by doing that. But second of all, if we're all one, isn't it a giant like service to self? And all of a sudden, that phrase service to self becomes not infused with all of that negativity. So if I swing back around way toward the beginning, when this guy Todd in his book is mentioning getting rid of negative polarity, it seems to me like it's kind of what I just did for that phrase service to self versus service to others. It almost, like, if I look at it that way, it almost seems like service to others is like creating more duality than service to self, because we are one giant self. Anyway, sorry, that was really complicated and all over the place. So lots of different ideas in there. Feel free to comment. Please just like it if you watch it. And share it with other people if you think it's relevant. But anyway, I'll try to come back sooner next time. I just was kind of like, I was out of commission dealing with some like life stuff, and I also didn't feel like I had something great to talk about. So, but this was a good one. So anyway, let me know what you think. I'll see you guys soon. I love you.